Welcome in on a Monday, and it is the 9th. The transfer portal is officially open. Open for business, and here's Jim Scarcelli. He's open, and he's open for business as well as we get ready to get things underway on this Monday. Scar, did you enjoy the football over the weekend?
Yeah, it was good football. Some good games, and looking forward to some of these bowl games. And or Penn State gave them a battle at the end. Had a chance to, I knew Penn State would compete. They've got good players. He's recruited good players, and yeah, Danny, you hit it right on the head when you talked about business. Business is what's happening right now with all these players at Michigan, all around the country, who are sitting down with their coach, and they are talking business.
Yeah, well, we'll talk some of that business. We'll also get your thought on Michigan doing business with a bunch of recruits that came official on Wednesday. So we'll get your thoughts looking back to Wednesday. We'll look ahead. Michigan, we know that they are playing Alabama. They could beat Alabama twice in the same calendar year if they're able to take down the Tide. Michigan's still looking for an offensive coordinator. But we are starting with today with the portal opening up, and you know that it's going to be different this year. There's no more walk-ons. The roster is set at 105, so there's going to be a lot of guys going out, and then there's going to be guys coming in. So how they do that in the days and weeks ahead, that's what we're going to be sitting back watching.
Yeah, Denny, you look at Oregon, and, they won their championship in the portal. That's where they listen, they've got great facilities, they got great resources, they got a great crowd, but so do we. And there's a lot of reasons why we all those reasons are over and gone and done, and they're in the past. All them excuses, it's over and done. But this is what I believe is happening in college football right now. For everybody, the majority of the teams, the season ended last week, when we ended after the Ohio State game. This is what I believe is going on. Every kid on the Michigan football team will have a meeting with Sharon Moore. But prior to that meeting, all of the coaches, Sean McGee, everybody involved with our program, Sharon Moore will have all that information. And I think they put a value on every kid. Every single player has a value. Scholarship plus 10 grand, scholarship plus 30 grand, scholarship plus, 40 grand. Scholarship plus 100 grand, 50, 500 grand. I think there's kids going to make, obviously, 500 grand. Okay. So every kid has a value. There are some guys on our team, Denny, that have graduated, and maybe they would like to come back for a fifth year. And the coaches are going to tell them, we've honored our commitment. Good luck to you. We don't want you back. That's another thing that's happening. Guys that want to come back. So every player has a value. So the kid will come in and the coach will say, okay, we want you back. Scholarship plus 50 grand. The kid might counter. These guys have agents. The kid might counter, I want 200 grand. So maybe that's where it sits. And meanwhile, the value that our coach put on that player, the coach knows also that he knows some guys in the portal that he likes. He has his eyes on, and they probably already have an idea what it's going to cost to get, this, player at whatever position. And so Sharon is evaluating the players on his roster, the kid that wants to come back. So let's just take a position. Let's just take O'Leary. O'Leary,
wide receiver. Yeah.
Okay. He has another year. I don't know if I'm going to assume they want him back. They probably gave him some type of an offer. And whether they agreed to it, I don't know. But if they agree to it, then it's over and done. He's coming back. But let's say they don't agree to it. Sharon Moore will say, listen, he's thinking, I got these freshmen coming in that are big, tall, athletic kids. There's transfer guys out there I think we might be able to get for whatever value Peyton O'Leary is asking for. So it's a business. Those are business decisions. There's negotiations. He's playing. Sharon Moore is looking at his freshman class, his roster, his backups. And there are backups on our team, Danny. There are backups on our football team. Again, this is not just Michigan. Everybody's doing this. There are backups on our team that maybe are in line to start. But especially look at our defense. Look at our defense, Danny. USC runs the exact same stuff as us. If I'm Michigan, I'm looking at USC because I know the scheme is the exact same thing. You know what I mean? So you're not reteaching things. You can really look at an edge player, a linebacker, a defensive tackle, and you can see how he would fit into our system. You don't have to guess based on a 4-3 guy into our 3-4 package. So I know I threw a lot at you, but that's what I think is going on. And that's why a kid like Gentry's in the portal. Gentry, I'm just going to guess. He went in to see Sharon Moore. Now, you would have thought, I would have thought that he would be in the running to be that starting left tackle to replace Hinton. Wouldn't you have thought that?
Yes.
Okay. We probably all would have thought that. We know they like Link. So, but at the same time, also know that Gentry has other people that want him. You know, kids from Utah, right? Utah may have gave him a big $500,000 offer, $300,000 offer. And Sharon Moore is looking at him like, you know, I got Sprague here, this freshman that I think can give us what you're going to give us. Or he might have a kid at Northwestern or some other college in line that is in the portal that he's like, you know, we're just going to go with this guy, a proven starter at left tackle. We've had you in our system for a couple of years now. And we don't know that we don't know that we can beat Ohio State in Oregon with you. So I think that's how that discussion worked. I guarantee you they wanted him back. They wanted Gentry back, but probably not for the amount of money he wanted. That I would bet any money on that a kid like Gentry, they definitely would have wanted him back, but he probably had a better offer because, I mean, he started a game at Michigan. That's, you know, someone that's got some money, Miami and some of these other guys are, you know, they're looking at him. He was a highly recruited kid, but that's where you got to look at, like, why is that kid leaving? And I think the offer he didn't like from Michigan, and he's got a better offer somewhere else.
Yeah, and what could happen, you go into the portal, it doesn't mean that you can't come back. You know, you can go out there. Now, I wouldn't think that, you know, that's going to be a lot of guys, but at least there is that chance. You go out there, you're doing all these things behind the scenes, but you might be like, well, okay, I'm out. But, you know, things can change where you could come back. O'Leary would be a good example of that. Now, he's not in the transfer portal, but if, you know, he put himself out there just to see what kind of across the board offers that he could get, he knows he's got like whatever Michigan would be saying to him. And then in the end, if it's not that big of a deal, and you know, maybe he would come back. Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I believe is going on. Also, this is what I think is also going on, Denny.
All right.
I have some information. I just a source. I heard $30 million is what Oregon spent on their freshman class to bring those kids in. They got like the 1 or 2 top class in the country. The figure I heard was $30 million
for just the recruiting class.
Just the freshmen that they just signed.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, that's what I heard. Now I don't know if that's over for a 4-year. I don't know how these contracts are written up, but there are contracts now. They're not no more of this UNLV stuff. You know, quarterback getting screwed, going on your word. No, these guys have agents. They have contracts. The number I heard was like $30 million at Oregon. Okay, what would you guess would have been Michigan's? What do you think we spent for our class?
Well, half of that went to one player. Around half of that could have gone to one player. Now, I don't know. It depends. You read the New York Times story, like I read a couple days ago, and Bryce Underwood's dad was like, you know, it was about the same amount of money that LSU was offering. Now, I don't believe that, but you can't really check. So it depends on who you're listening to. Like New York Times, they cited like 3 different sources, not for that same, but just in different things. And Bryce Underwood's dad doesn't have to tell anybody anything. He doesn't have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to make it. If I'm Bryce Underwood's dad, I don't want everyone thinking that I just came in because Michigan gave me the most money. I want them to think because it was the most comfortable. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to, but so I don't know. You want to tell me that he came for 8? You want to tell me that it's 15 million? You want to tell me that he got 8, but then if he's starting, it's going to become 15, all kinds of different things like that. So my guess is that it's over 20 that Michigan is.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. My point is, the point I'm trying to get to is that I think we spent some money on this class. Okay.
Yeah.
Joe Lynn stepped up.
You didn't get the linebacker, the 5-star linebacker.
Right.
I know Nate Marshall they got 10 grand and then got a $500,000 down there at Auburn. Okay. And so I would imagine that he at least got that or more to come back. So
anyway, here's what's also, I think, that might be new for Michigan that I think Jim and Sharon and these guys have tried to prevent from happening. Again, I'm just speculating.
Okay.
But if I'm a guy like TJ Guy or Eno Etta, right, I didn't get that kind of money coming out as a freshman.
Right. No, you didn't.
Now I'm a guy who's a proven backup. I'm in line to possibly be a starter. Where's my check? Where's my cut? I'm a guy who's kind of proven it already. So I just wonder what the attitude is and how. I mean, again, this is why Jim was so ideal for this, because he did it as a pro coach. But Sharon will get it figured out. And how do you balance that? The TJ Guy, the Eno Ettas, and these guys that are, and then now you got this kid, this big, what's his kid's name from Chicago? Whatever, the big defensive tackle, Nathan. What was his name?
Marshall. He's a
Marshall. Anyway, you got this kid. He probably got a $500,000 to sign, right, or more. Anyway,
right.
You've got other guys that are with the program that have contributed, are in line to be starters. So this is the
great Scar. It was always. I can remember a couple of years ago, and Harbaugh didn't like the idea of paying the kids coming in because he was thinking that it was going to affect the chemistry. Now that's just what he said, but if you really look at it, if Michigan would have started this 3 years ago, and this would have been behind the scenes because you really couldn't, it wasn't out in the open. But yeah, as soon as you pay the first high school kid coming in, then you got to take care of everybody else too. And everybody else is going to be like, where's mine? And everything else. So this was always going to be.
Well, again, Benny, we did the right things at the time. Texas A&M did the wrong thing. Jimbo Fisher got fired doing it his way. But the issue now is I got to believe that these contracts are restructured in a way that there's going to be a little more of a commitment to keep the kid there for 4 years. So anyway,
it goes to show it doesn't just mean it felt like Jimbo was just going out there and looking at the recruiting rankings and saying, all right, we'll give you 5, we'll give you 4, and not thinking about how it fit in. You still have to have these guys fit in and have a profile that you want. Yeah, you're going to get the money, whatever. But I know that it's weird because I don't think it's a bad thing if a player wants to talk about money.
Oh, hell no. Listen, man, they're playing. Look at Penn State now, Danny. Penn State, and I'm wondering if guys are going to drop out and opt out of these bowl games. Okay, Penn State could potentially play 4 more football games. Okay, they just played they played their 13th game.
They're playing SMU. They're going to play Boise. They're going to probably play.
So they could potentially play another 4 games. Don't they have a first round? Don't they got I think they got a first round pick on that defense, first or second round.
Yeah, number 11. Sure.
Yeah. I wonder what that kid's agents is telling them. You're going to play 4 more football games for nothing. You know what I mean? It's like I'm interested to see if there's going to be any opt outs. I just want I would guess yes. I'm going to bet and guess yes. I
would guess no if you're in the playoff. I would guess no.
Okay. We'll see how that plays out.
I would guess that if you're number 11 on Penn State, that you want a gigantic gigantic insurance policy paid for by Penn State.
Yeah.
If I'm Lloyd's of London, I'm going to say, look, I'm going to be in the first round. I got 10 million. I need 10 million insurance policy. You got to pay for that premium. I bet that's happening. Yeah, I wouldn't think anybody would opt out if they have a chance to play for a championship.
Well, we'll see. I know. I mean, it's interesting. And think about the kid who's a first. We don't want Jake Butt. Look at Jake Butt. It cost him a lot of money. And it cost him.
I know it did. And that was,
You
but
know,
that was meaningless. That was I say meaningless. That was not playing for a championship.
Yeah. And Danny, I just wanted to comment. Well, I guess that's that, and about the portal. That's kind of where I think we're at with the portal. And I'm going to say this: Sharon Moore, he will not get out portaled this time. He ain't going to let it happen. Okay. If you want to look at Danny, I watched Oregon play. We all, they're the champs.
Yep.
Oregon. I want to try to say this in a nice way, but Oregon, they out-portaled everybody at the quarterback position. They had two quarterbacks. They were in the top. They were probably the number one team in the Big Ten at the quarterback position. They probably had two better than anyone we had. Two, not one, two.
Mm.
The running back position, they did an awesome job in the running. They probably were in the top 2 or 3 in the running back position. I would say we were in the middle of the pack in the Big Ten in the running back position. And it's all about the portal. And then I think also at the receiver position, those are the positions, Denny, in my opinion. People can disagree with me. Our listeners can disagree. I think our offensive line was top 6 in the Big Ten. I think our tight end group is top 4 or 5 in the Big, maybe higher. Our tight end group is good. I think we lost. We have got to spend the money. I mean, look at Oregon's 2 receivers. That Tez dude, that kid is unbelievable. And then the big kid jumping over guys.
Right.
That dude, we don't have nothing like that. So you can't blame your offensive line, when they got dudes like that. We're defending dudes like that, and Oregon isn't defending guys like that. So I just don't think Sharon Moore is going to let it happen again. He's going to come out swinging. We got Michigan. We got money. We got pro quarterbacks in the NFL. And
yeah, you think Scar? I remember the first time I watched Oregon this year. I think it was against Ohio State. It might have been earlier than that. But it's like, Dylan Gabriel comes in from Oklahoma, and then Tez Johnson from wherever he was, Troy, I think. And then they're like, the entire secondary, the 4 on the back line, they're all out of the transfer portal. It was like the whole entire team was that way. But if you told me that Michigan had Dylan Gabriel this year and Tez Johnson and add 3 or 4 more, like big time, I'm talking about Michigan being in the playoff. Maybe just Dylan Gabriel, you could make a case that Michigan maybe gets into the college football playoff.
Right. If we had one of those receivers and one of them quarterbacks that Oregon had, and one of those listen, those running backs, I know people are going to beat me up with that, but I don't want to tackle those dudes. They got 2 really, really good running backs, and I just they had 6 players at those positions better than anyone we had, and it was a huge. You want to look at why they won a champion, Denny? There's an old saying in coaches, sometimes it's the X's and O's, and sometimes it's the Jimmies and the Joes. Now, a lot of times sometimes you can outcoach people, but there comes a point when you got to have players, man. You got to have running backs that make guys miss, quarterbacks that throw accurate balls, can escape the rush, get out of the Gabriel. I don't know why he ain't the damn Heisman kid. The kid, best football team in the country, undefeated team, and he's the quarterback. Without him. Anyway, that's that. But
he's up there. It's just Hunter's a 2-way guy that stood out, and Genty is chasing Barry Sanders records, and those guys are just more outstanding than Gabriel.
Anyway, Danny, I just think Sharon Moore in Michigan, we are not going to get out portaled.
Yeah,
we are going to have. I think that Sean McGee and our guys are going to say we that Tez Johnson dude, wherever he is. We're gonna if we got to go get that kid, because the idea, Danny, the concept of I think about the guys I played 4 years with. I love those guys, man. Michigan guys, we brought battle together. We came in, we grinded. We have reunions, man. We lived that for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
There's a brotherhood. There's a connection. I think those things are a thing of the past. Michigan signed 22 kids. Right. How many of those guys you think are going to be at Michigan in 4 years of the 22 scholarship kids?
Maybe half.
Yeah, so that it's not a knock at them or whatever, but I think there's missing out on that brotherhood of the grind that we went through, but they're going to have a big chunk of money in their pocket too to go to different places and have the opportunity to do those things. But I know I'm going all over the place there, but We just can't get out portal.
But think about the 10 guys that came in from the transfer portal last year. They won a championship. Those guys will, those guys will be intertwined with Michigan and that group for the rest of their lives. And it's like Josiah Stewart. He came in. He feels it seems like he's a Michigan man as the transfer portal. If Dominic Zavada somehow decides to come back and wins the Lou Groza, I mean, he'll be every bit of a Michigan man.
Well, I guess, Danny, that 4-year connection is something that
I get that. I understand that. I totally get that part.
Hey, before we get into the recruiting of the high school kids, no one talked about the white shoes, man. I don't know that Michigan's ever wore white shoes.
Jerry talked about the white shoes.
Okay, I didn't know he did, but I just, I don't know if anybody ever talked about it. But anyway, that's something. It definitely ain't going to be the last time we see the white shoes, man.
Scar, here's M Go Blue 1234, who's buying you a sandwich here, but he wants you to answer his question, and let's get right to him.
The thought on the team is look at Oregon, man. That team was made in the portal. They plugged. Danny, when I was coaching, I used to call it putting the puzzle together. Okay, that's what the leader does. I looked at my freshman JV, the returning guys. Okay, we just finished the season. Now you got to put that puzzle together. Your coaching staff is changing. You got to put the coaching staff puzzle together. And now I got to put my team together. What do I got here? Is this freshman kid who's a stud? Are we going to possibly bring him up from JV? I'm going to move this kid to that position, this, that, or okay. That was the puzzle I put together. Sharon Moore has got to out-puzzle Dan Lanning and third base. He has got to be Sean McGee and our guys. They got to look at our roster and who are we going to bring in a stud 1-year? I'd like the idea of a stud 1-year transfer guy. Get Bryce acclimated, have a solid JJ package for him. Maybe he starts mid-season. Who knows? I mean, Nebraska played that kid the whole year, and he got him to a bowl game for the first time. Bryce Underwood might be able to start for us maybe game 4 or 5. Who knows? He's that kind of kid. He's got to get stronger. But anyway, we start with the quarterback position, okay? And I think he might want Davis Warren. I think I'd want Orgy back too. Anyway, we start with that. So my thoughts on the team is the quarterback position. We need a stud freak running back. We got to find a kid like Oregon had. Because we got the freshman kids. We know they can, they look like they can play, but they're not proven yet. So anyway, he's got to put the puzzle together. And then when I go up there to spring ball and watch what's going on, and we see the spring game, and we know the players they brought in, and it isn't just X's and O's anymore and how good you recruit high school kids. You almost have to have a college football coach now has to have, Denny. You have to have a pro football scouting ability. Pro scouts were at our practices every day. They're evaluating 20, 21-year-old kids, not 16, 17-year-old kids. So our guys have to have the ability to evaluate 16-year-old kids and then the ability to evaluate, these guys that are 2-3-year starters at Louisiana Tech or Tulsa, the best player, who's down there at Tulane who wants to get out, or the kid at Arizona, they're losing. I guarantee you there's some studs on that Arizona football team, and they don't think that guy can win. So Michigan Go Blue 1, 2, 3, 4. My hopes are high. We've got optimism with the freshman class we signed. So yes. they proved something. He's proved something there. That's his class as a leader that Sharon Moore signed. So we proved it there. Now we got to prove it with putting this puzzle together with these other missing pieces and juggling. Okay, Gentry, we don't think you're worth it. That's why he's gone, Danny. That's why he's gone. Okay. And let me also say this, man, that I think that Sharon Moore, I think, Denny, I don't have any reason. No one told me this, but this is what I believe. I think that our coaches went in this past season. We just won the national championship. we had a lot of guys coming back, and they had a great locker room. They had a lot of guys that were proven guys, and I don't think they wanted to really go into the portal hard and disrupt a championship locker room. But I don't think Sharon Moore is playing any of that anymore. When you're like, I know when I was a head coach, sometimes I had a senior that was ready to start for the first time. Kid paid his dues, grinded. But now I got this sophomore kid, maybe just moved in the district, whatever. He's a freaking stud. I got to be loyal to my football team and put the best players on the field. I got to make tough, nasty decisions, is what I'm saying. Sharon Moore is going to make those, and he's doing it now with Gentry. When you see these kids in the portal, they couldn't work out a negotiation, okay? Or Sharon Moore is saying, you know what, I can get someone better in the portal, because he's making the tough, nasty decisions now. I had to make them as a coach, put that senior on the bench for a sophomore. You don't like doing it, but you want to win in college football now, you got to be a stone cold killer. And sometimes you got to hurt feelings, man, to get the best roster on your team, man. That's where we're at, man.
Well, we saw what Oregon, we've just talked about them. Ohio State really went into that transfer portal hard. Indiana, I know it was James Madison and a bunch of players there, but it's another example is you can go out there and you can bring 20 guys in, and you can go from a mid or bottom feeder to a team in the college football playoff. But the most important thing is they got Bryce Underwood, who's going to be that big-time quarterback, and is it going to work? Sure, you can throw all the money, you can say everything else, but you got to get that guy. And, you're talking about running back, just on the offense. They need big-time quarterback. They need big-time wide receiver, big-time running back, big-time offensive lineman. Where don't they need? Maybe, if Derek Moore.
Danny, I think our tight end room is good. There's a couple of linemen I really like. Yeah. I think we've recruited really good linemen. And maybe they have faith that a kid like Sprague, because I heard good things about him, maybe they say, you know what, we're starting that kid at left tackle next year. So I don't know where they're at, but bottom line is he's got to put the puzzle together, and we just got to have faith, because so far, he's doing it with our freshmen. So we got a great freshman class. Maybe some of those guys are the next Kenny. Maybe I guarantee you. Let's hope that we got the next Mason Graham in there with that freshman class, Kenny Grant, that can rotate in. As freshmen and not be a problem, not be a liability. You can rotate them in as true freshmen, and that's where we're going.
Well, what a great point. Not only did he need to really, hit the portal hard, but the depth you don't have. Gentry. So you're going to have to rely on your recruiting, and they're going to have to be some true freshmen. I think Michigan will field a really good team, and we'll look at it and say, hey, this is a team that
listen, when they let Gentry go, they're not thinking about a true freshman playing left tackle. They're thinking about the kids on the roster or kids in the portal that they think are better than him.
Yeah, here's my point, is I think that they'll put together a really good team with the portal and what they're going to be in, but your depth is not going to be there. Like you could say, yeah, really like the Jod East. I mean, he would be nice to be a swing interior offensive lineman. Yeah, Gentry would be great, to be a tackle either left or right. If it's not Link or if it's not Sprague, those are the guys that now, and they won't necessarily be true freshmen at offensive line, but there are going to be some spots where you're going to lose that depth, where you're going to have some guys that are going to be in there. It's not going to be like that's going to be the difference. You're going to have a lot of portal guys. A lot of your depth is going to go because those guys are going to get a chance to get some money and play somewhere else. And so you're going to have to rely on some young guys.
Yeah, when Oregon lines up against us and Ohio State lines up against us next year, I want them to look at a quarterback and crap their pants. I want them to have to fear some big-time receiver freak dude, 6'4", jumping out the gym. I want them to fear those dudes, okay? Then a couple other things that I have on my notes to talk about. Purdue hired a stud. They hired a real good head coach. The guy was at Missouri, but that's a tough place to win in the SEC. But he totally rebeat UNLV. The Purdue program is up and running. We play him next year. I wanted to comment. This guy will be a problem. He ain't no joke. Tony Gibson, the former Michigan guy. I remember when he coached with Rick Trod. Rick Trod used to shred him at practice. I couldn't believe the way he shredded that dude. But Tony Gibson is worked up. He's getting the head coaching job at Marshall. I liked him. I met him. So hoping for him. Central Michigan hired an Army guy, Denny. Is Central Michigan going to run the Army offense up at Mount Pleasant? Just something to think about. I think we might play him in a couple of years. But that's some other off the path, beaten path stuff I had here.
I like that. How about some of the other guys? Cabana, Doman, Denigal, Gentry, Micah Pollard, any of those guys?
Well, Micah Pollard wasn't playing. It makes total sense. And neither was Cabana. You know, they weren't playing. And they may have just told him, look, man, we just, you know, we're going to honor our scholarship because that's what we told you when we were recruiting you, but we don't have any money for you. And that's so, you know, and the kid probably wants to play and he wants to maybe see he might have someone like Wake Forest, a team like Wake, you know, you go from Michigan's roster, you know, he was a highly recruited kid. There might be someone like a Wake Forest, some of those guys that say, you know what, come on down. We got a scholarship and 20 grand for you. You know what I mean? And a chance to play. He's like, oh, hell yeah, I'll take that. And same thing about the big tackle, Denny, that's Tristan Bounds. That's his name?
Yeah, he's on Michigan.
I bet any money that he got a financial offer. I mean, he's coming from Michigan. Our offensive line is good. I bet you any money he got a financial offer from someone else where Sharon Moore said, look, man, I got a scholarship for you. You can go over to Duke, and they got 100 grand for you. I don't know. You know what I mean? So, but I guarantee you that kid got paid.
Before we ask you about the offensive coordinator and the offense that Michigan would run, this was a little bit from left field last night. Michigan got a quarterback commitment from Kirk Herbstreit's kid. Chase Herbstreit is a 25 quarterback, and he's coming in, and he'll be on scholarship. Now, what were your thoughts as you heard that?
Well, I saw him play last year, Denny. I saw him play. My buddy Eric Caddis, my teammate, his son played with Herbstreit at St. Xavier. So I was at the game in person. I actually met Kirk Herbstreit, solid dude, humble guy, team guy, just another guy. I have great respect for Kirk Herbstreit. And his kid, I watched his kid play. He's an athletic kid. He's a fast, athletic kid, decent arm. I watched his film yesterday, Denny. He's an athletic kid. You got to also understand this. When you sign Bryce Underwood, you ain't getting no other. Not many guys are going to want to come there. Not only are they not going to want to come there, so you're probably going to lose Jaden Davis. What are your thoughts, real quick? Would you bet that Jaden Davis is on the roster next year?
No, I would think you'd be
okay.
Going.
So we're going to lose Jaden Davis. Okay. So then we got no one's going to want to come in there with the $10 million man. So you might not get a guy next year either. You might not get a guy next year. Okay. With Bryce Underwood there. So I don't know how many stars he was. I don't know who else recruited him. Okay. But there's sometimes you take I looked at his film, man, and I saw a guy that could run and throw a decent football. Now he's not the biggest kid, but I like guys that can run, man. And on his film, it looked like he was fairly accurate. Again, it's the highlight film. I don't see the crummy passes. I never liked watching highlight films. I just like to watch the whole game. But anyway, Denny, I think Sharon Moore sees a kid who's probably going to be a great attitude team guy. He might be, you look at his film and you say, you know what? He might be that Georgia quarterback that ran all over us a couple of years ago. Remember that kid?
Yeah, won back-to-back championships.
Yeah, that dude. When you look at Herbstreit, I see a fast, athletic kid, and I want that. I want a fast, athletic kid. And then is he smart and is he accurate? Is he an accurate passer? So I don't think Sharon Moore gives a damn about any nepo. I got to be kissing butt to some analyst kid. I don't think he does. I don't think he would do that. Okay, to just to have good media coverage from those guys. But I saw him, and my rationale is it's going to be hard to get a quarterback. He could be a team guy that maybe in couple years he could be a guy that could be a solid backup. in case of injury, who knows? And who knows how that kid's going to develop. So I'm all for it, man. I don't think it's a gift. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, if his name wasn't Herbstreit, we would be saying all the things that you're saying.
Yeah, I think, Denny, I think I would. I think when I look at his film if you think that Sharon, you're basically taking a shot at Sharon Moore's character by saying he's there because he's for some other reasons. And I have more faith in Sharon Moore's character that he's offering a kid a scholarship that he thinks can play there.
No, I think it's a bunch of fan stuff. Fans, you're a former player, Scar. If you met someone that went to Ohio State, it's not like you're going to be dropping your gloves and fighting him in the parking lot because he's some bastard that, it was scarlet and gray. That's the way fans are, though. That
I got you. So they're upset because the old man went there 30 years ago.
Well, people, Kirk Herbstreit has tried over the years to stay above the fray. He had to leave Columbus, but then he had two instances. One, he got involved with when it was Rich Rodriguez, and then it was Les Miles, and he talked about him being on the boat. He really stuck his foot in his mouth there, and he came off as a Buckeye homer, even though he's not. And he tries not to do that. And then a couple of years ago when he said, I probably didn't mean to say it, when he's like, yeah, well, Michigan's going to opt out. They're going to wave the white flag, and they're not going to play Ohio State. Everybody's like, got all, we're not waving our white flag. It's COVID. We can't play. And then they were like, you Buckeye bastard. So people really, the fans feel like that. But
yeah, I can get that. And I'm going to opt, Denny, I'm going to opt on this. I think Herbstreit's other kids, went to play for Dabo.
Yeah, I would say this, that.
And Denny, let me just say, my thing is based on integrity of Sharon Moore, period. Yeah. I don't think he brought a guy in to do somebody a favor.
Yeah, well, another kid in this class at center, Caden Strayhorn, his dad's the color analyst on Michigan State football broadcast. And I've listened to him over the years with Blaha. There is no one that's a bigger homer, a bigger Michigan State rah-rah guy that bleeds green and white than Strayhorn. And then his kids coming into Michigan. That's what's weird for Michigan State fans. It's weird for Michigan fans. But you listen to Caden Strayhorn. He's like, this is the place for me. This is the place I want to be. My dad fully supports it. And Kirk's the same way. He knows the kind of program Michigan's running. He knows that there's going to be a lot of noise, but those guys have nothing to do with it. It's to my point is it's all fan noise. That they can't. They think he's like a double agent, and none of it's going to work out. Sparty, Buckeye, because people they're not used to.
Yeah, some guys don't want to have to deal with that legacy. I don't want to have to be compared to my old man who played 25 years ago, and I don't want to hear about old man Kirk back in the 90s. I want to blaze my own trail. My brother went to Illinois, man. I wasn't going there because he went there.
Yeah, here's the thing that's different now. There is no such thing as walk-on. So Go Blue saying he heard he's going to be a preferred walk-on. There's 105 roster spots, and they're all scholarship. Everybody that's coming in is getting money now. There's no gray shirts, preferred walk-ons. Everyone's on scholarship. Yeah. That's the way it goes. So maybe in years past, you'd say that's kind of what he is, but you also have to, like what Scar was talking about, when you got a guy like Underwood, not every school's like Ohio State that could get a 5-star and then get 2 5-stars the next class and a 5. I mean, it's really crazy, actually, how they've been able to just keep lining up.
Yeah, Danny, listen, man, I know when I was getting recruited by Michigan State, Carl Banks was there ahead of me, I mean, that's one of those things. He was he was already a year older than me, but yeah, I'm looking at that, man. Am I going to beat out Carl Banks? So those are things that guys look at when you're getting recruited. Danny, real quick on our freshman recruiting class, I didn't get to talk about it much. I like that it was all over the country. We got guys out of Georgia that Georgia wanted, tall receivers. Sharon Moore is like, okay, enough of these little speed and space guys. These little water bugs where they got a small window. Let's try to get a big guy that is always open, has a big window. So I like that. We signed some real good looking defensive backs. I like the idea that we crushed Michigan State. Don't ever forget about that. We got to crush them in this state. They get the guys we don't want. Okay, and every now and then they get maybe 1 out of 10. We got to always never forget that. Don't ever let Michigan State get some momentum. We want their coach fired every 3-4 years. That's what we want over there.
Yeah.
And I think again, our recruiting was good, man. You got it was all over the place. D line is, we got guys that can step up and compete. Hopefully next year, man. And one more thing, I think Curt Cignetti, Danny, I said this before. Yeah. I think Curt Cignetti changed the profile for athletic directors all around the country of what they're looking for in a coach. I think you're going to see less and less coordinators from programs. Although, Marshall just hired, but that's only Marshall. They hired Tony Gibson. But I think you're going to see more and more of guys that want guys with proven track records. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought this recruiting class was great. But, you got Bryce Underwood, so that start. But then right after him, you look, the Jordan Marshall or Nathan Marshall, Jordan Young, the 5-star linebacker that was at IMG. I mean, it goes down the list for impressive players. Earls from the East Coast. I mean, this is a chock full of stars of recruiting class that Michigan went in there. This is what people that follow the recruiting game, they just are overjoyed with what Michigan has been able to do there. So there we go.
Danny, what are some of the names that have legitimate offensive coordinator mentions?
Well, I would start with the 2 guys that were in championship games on Friday. The UNLV, Marion is the offensive coordinator. His name had been talked about. Craddock for Tulane, but I got to say, both UNLV and Tulane, their offenses look like crap on Friday. So people that were excited about those 2 names, they're not excited anymore about those guys. Not just one game, but it's still. You really weren't thinking about him before, and then you watch him Friday, and you're like, no, we don't want any of those guys. So those are 2.
Okay, let me. I saw some names last week, and I'm going to tell you a name. I don't. People might disagree, but I'll tell you, and I have my reasons why. Brian Griese would be the guy that would be high on my list.
You like him, all right?
Okay, here's what I like. He would be the quarterback whisperer that Jim was. Did you hear that term? Has he heard that quarterback whisperer term at all lately? I think he could be that guy, Denny. He was a national championship quarterback at Michigan. You have to know how to coach that kid. Jim Harbaugh won a championship with Cade McNamara. He left Ann Arbor. He ain't done nothing. Jim Harbaugh knew how to work with the mind of that kid. Griese will know how to work with in the mind, the confidence of Underwood and our quarterbacks. He's played in the NFL. He'll be able to recruit. He's been there. He'll be able to relate to them kids mentally to get them ready to play. But what I like about Griese, then you got to understand this. You know which tree all these guys go to get an offensive coach or a head coach?
They go to McVay or Shanahan.
They go to the Shanahan tree. Now, in the Shanahan offense is like perfect for the guy's brilliant. They've been to the Super Bowl. They don't have the best players. Did they win their conference with 3 different quarterbacks a couple years ago? I think they had a bunch of guys get hurt. Anyway, Shanahan is a brilliant offensive coach. Brilliant. And they play with tight ends. They do what we do. And they've got little tweaks, little schemes, little problematic stuff. And that's why all the NFL guys go and they want to get guys that work there.
Yeah, they've done it with different quarterbacks because Purdy, and then remember they had Jimmy G when they went to the Super Bowl before him. But really, when I say Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, both of those guys came from the Mike Shanahan tree.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I really like that concept because his what he's been working with. And again, Denny, I think, can he call plays? Well, we do a collaboration, I think, at Michigan. I think Sharon Moore will be part of calling plays and putting the whole thing together. So that would be a guy that would be high on my list because of his background as Michigan ain't going to hurt. that he went there, and but he can relate to that kid. I think mentally he can help those kids. And then I really like the little things that he may have learned, working under Shanahan with the 49ers, because they're just I love watching the 49ers play, just because I like watching their offense. And they do little things that you got to really look at and say, oh man, that's good stuff. It's problematic. I see why it's they're screwing the defense there. And it blends with what we do with the tight ends, because they play with Big Kittle and they block. And it's not some guy in a spread offense. I don't want he's got to blend in and mesh with us.
Yeah, I hear you about that. The one thing when people look at Brock Purdy, he's got the best left tackle. They've got outstanding wide receivers. He's got the tight end, and then he's got Shanahan, and then he had C-Mac as his running back. It was like you could put anybody back there. That's what people would say. And then when one or two of those guys would go out, Purdy didn't look as good. But anybody's like that. I'm just saying that.
Well, I never said Purdy was a great quarterback. I'm
saying that. I think people knock Purdy because they're wondering if they should be paying him $55 million. I mean, but that's just part of it. I think the other thing that the people, they hold two things against Griese. One, which I actually think is a positive, is that he's a Michigan man. I mean, I don't know why people, they see Michigan man and oh no, they're not going to go to another Michigan man. Jim Harbaugh was a Michigan man, so I dismissed that one. But the other one is that he wanted Harbaugh fired in 2020, and he came out and said something. Of course, there was a lot of people that said that, but he holds a lot more cachet about when you're a championship quarterback and you're coming out saying that you want Harbaugh out of there. But, again, those are things that should be water under the bridge for everyone.
Yeah, get over it. And I would really like to see that. But it's obvious, though, that whoever Sharon Moore has his eye on, the guy's still coaching.
What about this part? He doesn't have play calling experience.
Well, I think we don't know what his role is with play calling. I mean, I don't know who the offense is. Does Shanahan call plays there?
Yeah, Shanahan calls plays. But Ben Johnson is the best offensive coordinator. He didn't come from any great tree, and he didn't have any play calling experience when the Lions gave him the headset. Yeah. So I think because Kirk Campbell was a young guy with relatively no experience calling plays, people want some play caller that has had experience, and that's kind of the way it.
But Danny, the scheme, the little things that San Fran does that give you problems, regardless, you could pull the damn play out of a hat. Okay, you could pull it out of a hat. If he pulls in the schemes, the shifting, the BS the problems he gives a defense. Okay, that's what's good about the San Francisco 49er offense. And obviously, you're going to learn something. Josh Gaddis wasn't Josh Gaddis a Broyles Award winner? Didn't he win the Broyles?
At Michigan.
Yeah. Okay, well, how's he done since he left? How did he do at Miami? Oh, he got fired. Okay, how do you do it in Maryland? I think he just got fired there too. Okay, so how good of a play call you are, and how good, all that. Let's get some great quarterbacks, great running back, great receivers like we've had the last couple of years, and with our system. But like I said, I think what Griese has learned working under Shanahan, it'll add to what we do. We're not blowing up nothing, because they play with a tight end with his hand on the line of scrimmage next to a tackle. So Mark thinks that Harbaugh was the OC. I don't know. I think Jim was involved I think he was part of the collaboration. And I don't know I don't know what Sharon does, but Denny, you asked Sharon at a press conference, did he say he was part of the play calling collaboration?
I didn't ask him specifically that. I was giving my opinion that he was part of it.
He didn't answer the question if he was.
I didn't ask him that question. Okay. You wanted me to ask it, and I wanted you to come down there and ask the question.
Okay. Well, anyway, I just think that the play calling stuff, those are all, if you've got the right players and you've got the right methods of attacking a defense, and he works with the Elford and Kasulu and Big Grant and Sharon. It's that those guys are collectively going to have that. And I have confidence. I think that he will be able to call plays.
Scar, I don't know. And we all look at, and you're making a case for Griese, and everything that you're saying makes sense to me. For people that say he doesn't have play calling experience, I don't care. I think it's a positive that he's a Michigan man. So he would be fine with me. To me, you'll see like these 5 to 10 different guys that could all come in and would have the same kind of philosophy as Sharon Moore and what Michigan's trying to do, be balanced. You're coming in, you've got Bryce Underwood, you're Michigan, you got, Jolin and Port, you got all of this, you got everything that you could possibly want. It's a very attractive job is what I'm saying, but you get the 10 guys. I think it comes down to, and you might say, well, this is a cop-out. You sit down with these 10 guys, and whichever one, when you're Sharon Moore, sometimes within a minute, you're like, it's clicking. I like what this guy's saying. We had a great meeting. And that's what's going to end up pushing someone in. And these conversations might have already been had. He might already have his guy. But it's the one part where people say, well, who do you want? It's like, I need to talk to him myself. The 10 different guys that are being mentioned, there could be another 10 there. But as long as Moore and whoever the OC is on the same page with how they want to attack, and when they sit down and talk with one another, I would think that you would have to be somebody that would really want to be aggressive in recruiting, because Wink says he's a closer. They just bring Wink and he's like, all right.
Is that what he said?
Wink said he was just a closer. He's not going out there. But I think that's the thing too. You need someone that wants to be out there and involved in recruiting as well. But yeah, play calling is, you have a feel. Somebody was mentioning it'd be fun to call plays for the Lions. I get that, but Ben Johnson looks like he's the best in the game right now at calling plays.
Ben Johnson and Coach Campbell, they're just hard to figure out what the hell they're going to do. You got no idea. They don't go by the down and distance, Denny. They don't go by the book. It's like playing against a poker player. You got no clue what he does. He plays deuces the same way as he plays ace king.
Yeah,
you don't know.
Dan Campbell's going all in with 2-7.
That's right. So anyway, I like the tree he's from. I like his background. And listening to him talk over the years, he understands and he gets the whole team concept. He understands offensive line. And I just, we'll see. That's just a guy that it was one of the names I saw. I want a guy that's, has worked with tight ends and played in coaching those type of offenses. Because let me tell you something. He got rid of Kirk Campbell, but our system ain't going to change, man. We're going to have tight ends. We're going to have fullbacks. We're going to line up on the goal line with 3 tackles in the game and a wing back who might be a big tight end or another tackle and a full, that ain't going to change, man. I'm telling you right now, Sharon Moore has been there. He saw 3 championships, but yeah, Danny, we got to get, I just want to say, I forgot to mention, I just want to say this, we beat Ohio State, but Danny, we can't count on winning football games with 13 points against Penn State, Oklahoma. You ain't beating Oregon scoring 13 points. Because I heard a lot of people saying, smash and all this kind of stuff. Well, the defense was phenomenal. And our offense controlled the ball, did a lot of great things. But in the long run, you ain't beating Oregon with 13 points.
I think it's a great point. I want to make a point to everyone else with the transfer portal opening today and Michigan looking for an offensive coordinator. You want to know the latest blow by blow, where they're looking, what's going on. This is where you join up with the Maize and Blue Review today. You get instant access with all of that's going on. You go to michigan.rivals.com and you join up that way. All right, Scar, I want you to work through this. I don't know, I'm just putting you on the spot here, but you got Clemson and Texas playing. Do you think Texas is going to beat?
Yeah, they're too big. They're too big and strong. They could hammer them. They'll beat them by 14 points. They're too big and strong. They got much better players. Tennessee, Ohio State, the Buckeye fans going to come and be fired up. It'll be cold. Tennessee's got a hell of an offense.
Good defense, too.
Yeah, good defense. He's got good players. Ohio State is obviously a beatable team, man. Cold weather, a little wind. But, Buckeyes at home. SMU, Denny, this guy did a masterful job in the portal. What he did at SMU was he went out and got the guys like Gentry, the guys that weren't starters, but were damn good, highly recruited kids. You follow me?
Yeah.
You look at his roster, he's got about 10 dudes from Miami. He was masterful in putting his team together. He's a great quarterback coach, so he knows how to coach his quarterbacks. The guy had the blueprint for putting a team together. Penn State will not dominate this team talent-wise, but they're home. They have better players than SMU, and they'll D them up. Notre Dame, Indiana, I would take Indiana with the points, Denny. I just think I think a lot of Indiana. They're getting 7.5. They won't. Notre Dame won't just line up and smash them off the football. And they both have good quarterbacks. Indiana will be in that football game. Okay, they're a good team, man. That's a damn good football team. Arizona State. What a job that guy did. What a coach. That kid's 37 years old, man. And what a he's just a coordinator, and he's a coordinator that panned out, man. But anyway, those are my take on those games. I think it's a joke that Arizona. I don't know why Boise get a bye. That's a joke.
Yeah, they'll have to relook at that for
That's
the
a joke.
Getting.
They don't play. They played one game all year. They played Oregon. The rest they don't line up every week like Tennessee, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame. Indiana. No way. They don't deserve that. That's terrible.
I agree with you. I think they should change that. I also think that the quarterfinals should be at the home sites. Oregon doesn't get a lot of benefit by being the 1 seed. They're going to play Ohio State or Tennessee, but they're not playing them in Eugene. They're playing them in one of those bowl games. And then if you look ahead, I think it's going to be I think I agree with you with Texas. I think they beat Arizona State. I see Oregon and Texas. This semifinal is being played in the Sugar Bowl, which is in the Lone Star State. That's a huge advantage for Texas. I like Texas to go to the
well, they're playing. You know what also, Denny, is Penn State. Well, SMU just played too, though. At least Penn State is playing SMU, who just played a football game also.
Yeah.
But same with I don't know if that was how but it worked out like that because Clemson and Texas just played a game because you would have a huge advantage if Texas was playing Ohio State. That's a huge advantage for Ohio State having not played in a championship game, having a bye, getting healthy. You know what I mean? So the way it played out with all those games, Indiana both
rest.
Indiana and Notre Dame both had a week off, so there was some fairness there. But I wonder if that worked into how they were put just coincidentally put that thing together because that would have been a huge advantage.
You can cry about a lot of things. Penn State doesn't have anything to cry about. They're going to play.
Oh my God, that's Denny. Listen, I was a high school coach, and we made we had our playoffs, similar type of stuff as this. You don't know who you're going to get, points, blah blah blah, whatever. I always felt that if I was the number 1 seed, I should be able to pick who the hell I want to play. You know what I mean? Not based on your rankings.
Yeah,
I might rather play a team that, for whatever reasons, the matchups, whatever. You follow me?
Yeah.
They should in my world, if I'm on that committee, Oregon would have a say in who they get, which bracket they want to go in. That's just I know it's crazy and no one would ever agree with it, but I always felt that sometimes, the best team gets a terrible draw.
Well, that's what happened. Oregon would have to, beat Ohio State and Texas and Georgia. I mean, it's the same thing. Ohio State and Oregon both have a very tough road if they're going to get there. If I'd said Sugar Bowl for Oregon and Texas, I misspoke. Yes, the Cotton Bowl is in Texas, so I believe that this semifinal is in the Cotton Bowl, which is a huge advantage for Texas. That's going to be a home game against Oregon. But the other game is in Florida, so that's why they did it. They don't spin it that far ahead. But those are things. Scar, Alabama, they have 3 losses. They shouldn't have only scored 3 points against a mid-Oklahoma team. They don't really have a leg to stand on. I think they know that. And but now Michigan's going to have to play them. Do you have any thoughts?
Alabama's, Danny, they're good. They're good. They got Alabama talent. Their defense will be brutal. It'll be one of the best defenses we played. It'll be, the coach knows what we do. We went against them, and he'll have better talent on defense than he had at Washington. I'd like to see that old Milroe might sit out. I don't know what the chances are. I'd like to think he might sit out. But Danny, this is a good football team. They beat Georgia. They got big, strong, highly recruited dudes at every position. How mentally, I got to believe the coach would get them ready to play. You'd like to think they have some opt-outs because we're going to have a lot of opt-outs, Denny.
No doubt.
Mason Graham, Kenny Grant, they ain't playing. Josiah Stewart, I'm just guessing. He ain't playing. We got a lot of dudes opting out. I'm worried about our D-line more than anything. That's what I'm worried about with the opt-out because you're going to have guys maybe starting games that haven't had hardly any reps.
Yeah.
They're going to start a football game. Pierce is probably going to start. Eto's going to get a ton of reps. Benny is, so, and which of those guys are going in the portal? They might not even play because they're going in the portal. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We don't know. So if all the position groups I'm worried about, it's our D-line. Okay, so, but hopefully they got a lot of problems too, and they got guys in the portal. And I'd like to hear that Milroe. That's the one name I want to hear right away. Denny, I think this too about the bowl games. I think Michigan, Notre Dame, those are two teams. When it comes to bowl games, you always get traded up higher than what you deserve sometimes because you're a draw. You know what I mean? The people putting on the bowl games, they don't want Indiana or they don't want whoever. Nebraska's the bad example, but they want Michigan. Okay, they'll have 7-5 Michigan above 8-3 some other team. So I think, I was hoping we'd get like Kansas State or somebody else. I didn't want Alabama, but they're a damn good team. It is what it is. And they're good, man. I watched them go to LSU, beat the hell out of LSU. I watched them against Wisconsin, beat the hell out of Wisconsin. Just not even a game. So they got freaking players, got to have a great plan. One thing we know is our quarterback will be there.
Yeah, it's the toughest game that anybody's going to have. If SMU, if they beat Clemson, Alabama's in, or if SMU would have won, or if they would have got beaten, rolled really bad, I think that Alabama would have jumped them and they would have been able to put them in there. Meanwhile, they only lost by 3 points on a 56-yard field goal. So Alabama's number 13. So Michigan gets the toughest draw in the entire bowl season.
Yeah, I'd rather play Clemson, SMU, or Indiana than I'd rather play Arizona State, Boise State, Indiana, SMU, Clemson before I play Alabama, if you're asking me. But yeah, that's if they have a full roster. They got Jalen Milroe there. Got to have. I don't know if we're going to win with 13 points, Danny.
Yeah,
can we do it again?
People want to know about playing Jaden Davis, just putting him up for the bowl game, seeing what he's got. You talk about him hitting the portal. You think that's something Sharon Moore would do?
He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. He's going to play to win. And then he's got this other kid coming in next year, Denny. It doesn't make a lot of sense to play him.
No,
because next year he's not. Bryce Underwood's going to get the reps. They're going to give him the early track to be the backup. I mean, it just makes too much sense to. So no, I would not think that Jaden Davis is going to get much of an opportunity here. And like you say, I think his name will be. We're going to read his name in the portal within the next week or so.
Yeah, and there's nothing against him, but midway through the season, someone told me that goes to all the practices that he's not ready to play college football right now. So I don't think a month or two has changed that. He's still shooting the ball out from a. Well, Denny,
I watched him at practice, and I thought he was a pretty damn accurate. He's an accurate kid. One thing he does is he's not the biggest kid. He's not the most athletic kid, but he's got to get reps. But I see an accurate arm. He was recruited because he throws an accurate football.
Right.
He's not outrunning dudes. like Underwood and some of these guys. He's not the tallest kid, but I seen an accurate passer.
I hear you. Great stuff, Scar. Anything else?
No, man, it's all good, and we got to win this. Why wouldn't you want Alabama? This might get better ratings. Well, I want to win the game, Ferris. I want to win the freaking game. We just played them. I'd like to see some different competition. I just want to win the game, man. I'm sorry, but I'd rather play freaking SMU, Arizona State, because Alabama's going to have talented dudes. They're going to have 44 guys that are just 4 and 5 star bricks.
Yeah, because you don't like losing bowl games. That's why you don't.
No, I mean, I'd rather have confidence and win the damn. Okay, yes, yeah, we want to win it, and gradings and all that, but I want to win the game. I'd rather play somebody that I'd rather play another 7-5 team. Another 8-4 team, maybe. Not these guys.
No,
I'm keeping it real, D.
I'm glad that you did that. I'm going to keep it real too, Scar. I think that you would have had a tough time taking out Carl Banks at Michigan State. So
well, they wanted me to play tight end.
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
They wanted me to play tight end. Michigan's the only school that recruited me to play defense.
Well, that's another win for the Wolverines.
That's right. Anyway, it's all good. Go Blue, D.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli. Smash that like button. Great to see everybody.